In the last video, we talked about classification of matter. We talked about the pure substances and mixtures. We introduced a term element. And what do we mean by element? Element is a substance that cannot be broken down. Into smaller pieces. And we also mentioned that periodic table is a systematic arrangement of elements. So every entry on periodic table is one element. So for example, hydrogen present on periodic table, oxygen present on periodic table, carbon present on periodic table. So all these are elements. Now how are they different from each other? They are different physically. This hydrogen has certain number of protons, neutrons, electrons. Oxygen has a certain number of protons. Carbon has a different number of protons. So every element or every substance that has a certain number of protons is uniquely known as an element. Now, if we say, look at the periodic table, there is, say, nitrogen, 7 protons. So any atom that has 7 protons is a nitrogen atom. Now, I started using another term, atom. So what is an atom? Every element is made up of atoms. So if you want to take, say, a sheet of aluminum, so keep cutting it, make it into half, then make that into another half, then make that. So keep cutting it down. When you reach to a point where you cannot break it down anymore, you arrived at an atom of aluminum. So if you break that atom of aluminum, what you will end up with are protons, neutrons, electrons, and a bunch of other things which we don't want to talk about. Okay, so protons, neutrons, and electrons will be present in that atom. Okay, so if you break the atom, you will get into subatomic particles. So when you physically can't break down a certain thing beyond a point, that will be your atom. Now, if you take some atoms and chemically combine them, for example, if you take 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen and run a chemical reaction to combine them together, you make H2O. What is H2O? It's a chemical combination of 2 different elements. So thereby, it's a compound. You should also notice that it is a chemical combination of 3 atoms. Did you notice that? There is 1 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. So there are totally 3 atoms. So you combine 3 atoms and you made a molecule. Right? So when you talk about water, you have to keep in mind that it's a compound. It exists as a molecule. The example, the closest and most practical analogy that I can give myself, for example, I am a teacher. Okay, that is one of my roles. That is one thing that I do. I have another role. I am also a mother, right? So I have 2 roles. Just like that, you can, so if you classify all the women in the world, for example, and again, this is a silly analogy, but if you classify all the women in the world, you can place me in the group called teachers. You can also place me in a group called mothers. Okay, just like that, substances, water in our example, is a compound. It is also a molecule. If I give you a bunch of substances, say oxygen, sodium chloride, carbon dioxide. We should be able to classify them as atoms, molecules, compounds, right? So this, if you look at it, it is a molecule. It's a combination of two oxygen atoms. But it's just oxygen, nothing else. One oxygen combination with another oxygen. So it's an oxygen molecule. So if you look at it, this can be classified as an element. It can also be classified as a molecule, and both of them are true.